Light and sound and other electromagnetic fields are part of the science of physics. Diet and nutrition, as well as pharmacology, function in the realm of biochemistry. The influences of physics come primarily from our environment. Physics trumps biochemistry in its importance and influence. If the physics isn't right, the biochemistry can't function normally. You can't get healthy in the same environment that you got sick in. Max Planck, who upon receiving the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1918 said, "We have now discovered that there is no such thing as matter. It is all just different rates of vibration designed by an unseen intelligence." The paradigm or worldview that we in our Western culture are educated into, scientific materialism, teaches us that consciousness arises from the activity in the brain, is completely local to and within our bodies, and dissolves at death, along with the physical body. We have no eternal soul, there is no heaven and hell, and there is no God. We are educated into the framework of scientific materialism, which looks at life in terms of solids, liquids, and gases, sees the universe and everything in it as a machine, denies the existence of subtle energy and all of the phenomena associated with it, and generally sees everything as being separate and separated, including one's mind and one's body. The concepts of the soul, spirit, subtle energy, unity consciousness, and even sound healing don't fit into our conventional paradigm. An alternative perspective on this is that consciousness precedes the human body, survives after death, and that the body exists within our consciousness. We can't look to current reductionist science to tell us anything about consciousness beyond the fact that it supposedly originates in the brain and dies when our bodies die. Our current model of allopathic medicine, drugs and surgery, treats the body as a machine and eliminates from the equation the consciousness that animates the body. There is no steadfast willingness to look beyond this assumption, because this would mean looking at spirit or subtle energy, and science is forbidden to go there. Most people accept what they're told without questioning it or looking beyond it. But for those of us who stubbornly insist on questioning what we're told, there's something dissatisfyingly incomplete and even depressing about our official paradigm. This separation of science and spirit has been going on for hundreds of years. In some ways, it's been useful, but it also has its limitations. Our current popular science claims that these energies do not exist, the biggest reason being they have not been measured. We have been acculturated to believe that our current scientific perspective is the pinnacle of thought in evolution, and that if current science says that there is no life force, no energy fields, then this must be true. The biggest reason it continues to be denied by our educational system is that it has a history of being denied. We're often told that we cannot believe our own senses, that they are not to be trusted. Instead, we must listen to the experts. It's amazing how many people do not trust their own senses, and yet skeptics will often not believe something until they hear it with their own ears, see it with their own eyes, and in fact perceive it with their own senses. Then they believe. Western education is rooted in the separation of science and spirit, which means that solids, liquids, and gases are real, and the higher and finer frequencies that one might call soul or spirit are not real. This view is especially prevalent when it comes to our prevailing system of medicine. Medical science, in particular, largely looks at life in terms of solids, liquids, and gases alone. Quote from Jack Kruse, "Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance. This is true in politics, science, and life. Life processes are too fast to be explained by molecules wandering around and diffusing in and out of cells. Instead, molecules interact through electromagnetic resonances, very similar to tuning forks or pendulum clocks that begin to oscillate in unison through resonance processes. Tissues have mechanical, acoustic, electrical, and magnetic resonances, to name just a few. Nuclear magnetic resonance, or MRI, is used medically to excite hydrogen atoms inside the water of our body to create visible resonance pictures of our internal anatomy for diagnostic purposes. There are three types of interaction with matter, namely electric, magnetic, and acoustic fields. Everything in the universe is in vibration. The science of spectroscopy allows us to characterize atoms and molecules through the emissions and absorptions of different electromagnetic waves, including visible and invisible light. When electrons and molecules vibrate, they produce electromagnetic fields that depend on their frequency and on the ways they interact with their neighboring electrons and nearby molecules. Chemists use spectra to identify elements, while biophysicists use them to describe the molecular interactions inside cells and tissues. There are specific resonance windows at which biological effects tend to take place preferentially. Biological cellular reactions take place at just the right frequency and amplitude, often at very low intensities. A tiny signal at just the right frequency is capable of triggering cell membrane proteins to create an amplified response inside a cell or its DNA genetic material. The body is able to decode complex streams of environmental information that can lead to health or disease. The human genetic code, which is present in almost every cell of our bodies, can be activated by environmental signals through a process of epigenetic signaling. Every single human being and their pets needs sunlight exposure for optimal health. For 4.6 billion years, we evolved from the light of the sun and stars. 99% of the people alive today no longer live under that light source. You're never getting exposed to ultraviolet and infrared light if you're indoors. 50% of infra-red-A and all of the ultraviolet is blocked by window glass. When you live indoors, because of the loss of infra-red-A, there's a relative increase of blue. This increases the blue light hazard for all people who do this. It's a big deal when the sun comes up, and most living things time their days with an internal clock that's synchronized by external cues. To optimize your eye clock, you must get AM sunlight. Solar radiation exposure increases lifespan and decreases disease generation, leads to healing reversals of chronic mitochondrial diseases like obesity and diabetes. Water absorbs light energy consistently and holds on to it and releases it later than we expect. Water is mostly photons, and photons are the force carrier of the electromagnetic field. All biomolecules are dependent on water to operate. We're made up mostly of water, specifically structured liquid crystalline water, which is imbued with a multitude of electromagnetic frequencies. An inverse relationship exists between the amount of sunlight exposure you're getting and all-cause mortality. Humans are a part of an assembly of circadian oscillators, ranging from fungi to mammals. We and everything else alive, from plankton and fungus to lions and hippos, are synchronized to the orbit and rotation of the Earth, in and out of the sun's light, to assure us a food supply. Most of us in the modern world have no idea what the circadian rhythm is. let alone have any concept of what controls it or how it affects our physiology. Circadian rhythm is a massive factor in our health. All of life on this planet has evolved in alignment with the daily 24-hour pattern of light and dark, and the physiological and behavioral processes of all organisms is synchronized to this 24-hour cycle. The circadian rhythm is simply your body's biology responding to the external signals of light and dark. You get sleepy at night and then fall asleep for 7 to 9 hours because your circadian clock in your brain is controlling hormones and neurotransmitters. You wake up in the morning and stay awake all day because your circadian clock in your brain is controlling hormones and neurotransmitters. Our modern world, which is almost perfectly engineered to disrupt our circadian rhythm, is wrecking our health, vitality, body composition, energy levels, and quality of life. Having an optimized circadian rhythm or a disrupted circadian rhythm can be the difference between poor health, body composition, and quality of life versus excellent health, body composition, and quality of life. As human beings, we are designed to be exposed to lots of natural sunlight and the bright outdoor sky for hours each day, starting first thing in the morning after we wake up. Sunrise starts the circadian biology, which is so fundamental to sleep and metabolism, but few people realize just how important it really is. It is more important than your macro or micronutrients. We're also designed to have little to no light around after the sun goes down, except for moonlight and firelight, which don't disturb circadian rhythm. Light enters our eyeballs, and specifically the blue light part of the spectrum triggers specific receptors in our eye called melanopsin receptors that are connected by nerves to the circadian clock area of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Once the circadian clock area of the brain gets the blue light signal from the nerves, that's translated into its daytime, the time to be awake, alert, active, and energetic. The brain then initiates a cascade of different neurotransmitter and hormone changes that rewire your physiology into daytime active energy mode. Once the sun goes down, the lack of light entering the eyes and triggering the nerves that feed into the circadian clock of the brain then trigger the brain to say, it's nighttime, time for tiredness, relaxation, rest, and regeneration and sleep. And the brain then initiates a cascade of different neurotransmitter and hormone changes that rewire your physiology into nighttime, rest, sleep mode. Virtually all of us in modern society are suffering from one degree or another of circadian rhythm disruption. The modern world we live in is fundamentally mismatched to the signals our biology and our circadian rhythm in particular is designed for. Most of us are completely unaware of this biologic mismatch. It underlies much of what currently ails most of mankind today, especially people who work at night. We're not getting enough of a daytime energy mode signal into our circadian clock in our brain during the daytime when we should be getting it. We're getting way too much of a daytime energy mode signal at night when we shouldn't be getting it. The modern world blunts our circadian rhythm. Strong circadian rhythm equals deep sleep, powerful cell regeneration, and lots of energy. Blunted circadian rhythm equals poor sleep, incomplete cell regeneration, and chronic fatigue and tiredness. The alteration of circadian rhythms is associated with a variety of mental and physical illnesses. Recent studies show a significant association between quantitative and qualitative sleep rhythm disturbances and increasing prevalence of obesity. Artificial light from our electronic devices like phones, TVs, computers, indoor lighting, etc., affects our body just like the blue light we get from the sun. Today, it is no wonder we're having trouble getting asleep or that our circadian rhythms are so disrupted. Our brains are being cued it's daytime by artificial light constantly. What that means is that the 24-hour circadian clock in our brain is chronically in a mild state of jet lag. When you blunt the circadian rhythm, you don't sleep and regenerate nearly as well as you should be, and you're not nearly as energetic as you should be. The light you eat is more important than the food you eat. The entire food web is built around solar electromagnetic fields. Not all light is created equal. When you introduce man-made electromagnetic fields, either through your eye, skin, or gut, no matter what surface it is, you change the signaling. When you change the signaling, you change the reality. You change everything about the situation. Exposure to an intense and powerful LED light or fluorescent light or halogen light is phototoxic and can lead to irreversible loss of retinal cells and diminished sharpness of vision. What you think you're buying in the store, the electromagnetic footprint that is placed in the food by photosynthesis, is absolutely unmasked and changed by the light you eat it under. Blue light is the #1 health issue facing all modern humans. Blue light is a form of non-native electromagnetic fields. Blue light is good when it comes from the sun. Too much blue light is bad for your health. LEDs put out 4 times the color temperature of blue light than the sun does. And blue light in nature always has red light with it. We now live in a blue-lit world where our electronics and home lighting hit us with blue light at all hours. Our bodies just weren't designed for round-the-clock blue light. 50 to 70 million Americans actually sleep very poorly at night. At least double, if not triple that number, have suboptimal sleep. Very few people are thus sleeping perfectly, and light exposure at night is one main reason for that outcome. Getting blue light at dark times of the day messes with our body's natural cycles. That's why watching TV or scrolling on your phone right before bed can make it harder to sleep. Your body's getting all that blue light, and the color is essentially telling your brain it's the middle of the day, right before you try to shut down for the night. Poor sleep over time can become a chronic condition, and exhaustion can make it much harder to overcome other health challenges. There are so many people who don't get enough sleep and feel the negative consequences every day. Most of these folks have no idea that the artificial blue light they're surrounded by all the time and a Wi-Fi router are 2 of the biggest hurdles to restful sleep. Also, cordless telephones. Sleeping problems is one of the most common symptoms that goes away once you reduce the radio frequency radiation and dirty electricity levels in your home back down to normal levels. Our brains function with electrical impulses. Increased electrical radiation interferes with the brain's normal ability to function. Things that are Wi-Fi, such as smart meters, internet routers, and cordless phones, blast a continual stream of radio frequency radiation through the entire house, 24/7. Because your eyes will experience darkness at night with blue blocking glasses, a hormone called melatonin is produced in greater quantities in your brain. More melatonin equals deeper sleep at night combined with quicker recovery. Traditional blue blocker glasses stop blue light from getting into the eye, but green light is also massively disrupting sleep. These are Sleep Savior Ultra glasses. They block 99% of blue and green light. They're particularly suitable for people who need a deep, restful sleep in daytime hours, like shift workers. Even the brightest conditions won't disturb your sleep. Blue light causes an elongation of the eyeball, causing myopia. Next step is retinal detachment. The end result is acute macular degeneration. Every year, more than 2 million new cases of age-related macular degeneration are reported in the United States. Glasses and contact lenses block all of the ultraviolet and most of the infrared frequencies that our bodies need. Blue light toxicity causes cataracts. The body's trying to protect itself from blue light toxicity. Photoreceptors are damaged in your eye every time you look at your mobile or computer screen, including all heme proteins, or porphyrins, mitochondrial cytochromes, catalase, melanin in the retinal pigmentum epithelium, neuropsin, melanopsin, melatonin and dopamine, nitric oxide, vitamin B12, and folate. Dopamine and melatonin need AM sunlight to be produced. Depression is associated with low dopamine. Dopamine is created from the aromatic amino acids tyrosine and phenylalanine. Serotonin and melatonin are made from the aromatic amino acid tryptophan. Alzheimer's is a blue light, non-native EMF disease our species has created. The incidence of dementias at the equator is remarkably lower than it is at higher latitudes where people live inside. Blue light destroys leptin, the master for sex hormone production. Blue light dosed to kids causes seizures, which causes B12, folate, and catalase destruction, leading to cytochrome dysfunction. Modern epigenetics tells us these kids will likely develop diabetes and insulin resistance in the future, too. Exercising under blue light and Wi-Fi puts your body into a global weakness of all muscles, predisposing you to strain and injury. Red light therapy turns on the mitochondria and heals the damage done by toxic blue light. Red light therapy is a safe and all-natural, non-invasive process that encourages your body to produce enzymes, elastin fibers, and collagen that support the skin's structure, producing younger, smoother, firmer-feeling skin. It repairs damaged skin, kills bacteria to fight acne, reduces pore size, dramatically reduces fine lines and wrinkles, relieves joint pain, reduces scars and stretch marks, even out pigmentation, and much more. Mitochondria. Mitochondria are double membrane structures in our cells responsible for cell signaling, steroid synthesis, cell apoptosis, and cellular energy. These are the power plants of the cell. Mitochondria facilitate the production of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, usually referred to as the energy currency of life. They range from half to 10 microns in size, so we can't physically see them, but they affect everything we do. ATP is a high-energy molecule whose sole function is to create and store energy in our cells. Our body uses it to do pretty much everything. Exposure to artificial blue light between approximately 380 nanometers and 500 nanometers and high-frequency electromagnetic fields, such as microwaves, turn off the mitochondrial function in our cells. All tissues and organs produce specific magnetic pulsations that are collectively called biomagnetic fields. Pure energy is electromagnetic radiation, light. It is simply frequency, movement, or put another way, sound. Everything can return to its plasma state by being burned. So everything is really just some form of embodied light when you get right down to it. Everything you see is energy. It is all ultimately electromagnetic energy, vibrating at different frequencies. Every single thing in our observable universe is in motion, even things apparently not moving, like rocks. All tissues and organs produce specific magnetic pulsations that collectively are called biomagnetic fields. Specific frequencies stimulate the growth of nerves, bones, blood capillaries, ligaments, connective tissues, and skin. Orthopedic surgeons use low-level magnetic bone stimulators to heal non-union fractures in bones. Our biofield extends approximately 5 feet to both sides of the body and 3 feet above the head and below the feet, and is shaped like a torus. It contains the record of all our memories, embedded as energy and information in standing waves within this structure. Just as the brain is compartmentalized with different areas responsible for different functions, so is the biofield, with specific areas holding information related to specific emotions, states of mind, and relationships. Information found at the outer edge of the field, around 5 feet on most people, relates to gestation, birth, and early childhood. Information found close to the body is current or recent. All other years fall in between, like rings in a tree, or light years. In addition to our memories, the biofield contains the blueprint that the physical body organizes itself around. Traumatic experiences on the physical, mental, and emotional levels give rise to pathological oscillations in the standing waves that act as a sort of noise in the signal and could cause a breakdown in the order, structure, and function of the physiology. Energy healers produce frequencies of pulsations that literally sweep between 0.3 and 30 hertz in the same extremely low frequency range where the brain operates. These same frequencies are capable of creating powerful healing responses in any part of the body. We've known about brain waves since 1929. These low-frequency waves are not confined only to the brain, but actually spread throughout the body via the perineural system, the connective tissue sheaths that surround all nerves, regulating injury repair processes throughout the body. There are 5 brainwave frequencies for healing which can be calculated as octaves of a patient's fundamental healing tone. The heart is the driving rhythm for the entire body, and every cell is bathed in its electromagnetic field. Its mood affects the well-being of every organ and system in the body. Complex regulation in the connective tissue utilizes electrons and protons flowing as charge transference along hydrated proteins, acting as semiconductors. Most, if not all, parts of the extracellular matrix have semiconductor properties. This living matrix is a complex information processing system analogous to modern computer chips, only vastly more complex. Energy flows through electromagnetic fields inside living organisms as a result of the ubiquitous nature of water inside the organism, forming the matrix of life. These energies flow through water channels inside the body. Over 99% of the molecules inside the body are water molecules, and the body is 2/3 water by volume. Every protein, whether constituting bone, sinews, or any other tissue, exists in a hydrated form. When the water content of the body decreases to less than 50%, we die. Protons and electrons separate along membranes to create charge layers, analogous to a tiny battery. In this inner electrical environment of our bodies, the magic of life unfolds, and this environment is also able to be influenced in a powerful manner through sound vibrations. When we refer to energy, we're speaking of electromagnetic energy. At an atomic and subatomic level, the rock is in constant motion. Everything jiggles. It is the dynamic interplay between the positive and negative forces that gives rise to this dance of energy. Some words people use to define these subtle energies: chi, ki, prana, orgone, ad, tachyon, ether, akasha, longitudinal waves, Tesla waves, scalar waves, spirit, Holy Spirit, zero-point energy, the implicate order, the Higgs field, the source field, the torsion field, the field, gravity waves, and neutrinos. Subtle energy is the same as electromagnetism in that it is just light, but different in that it is light at very high and possibly very low frequencies where it behaves differently and responds to different laws. Subtle energy is present everywhere electromagnetic energy is present, just as water vapor is present everywhere water is. Just as water vapor is diffuse water, subtle energy is diffuse electromagnetism. You can't measure subtle energy with a voltmeter any more than you can measure water vapor with a measuring cup. This energy propagates differently than classical electromagnetism, moving in longitudinal rather than transverse waves. Transverse waves propagate or travel up and down at 90-degree angles to the direction they're traveling. Longitudinal waves propagate in the direction they're going without going up and down. Sound is described as a longitudinal wave, but is generally depicted as a transverse sine wave. Electromagnetism is seen as a transverse wave and not assigned any longitudinal properties. Electricity, magnetism, and light are all manifestations of the same phenomena, the electromagnetic spectrum. Qi and Qi are respectively the Chinese and Japanese words that most simply are defined as the life force inherent in all things. This life force is seen as both circulating through the body and the earth in yin and yang forms. Prana is the Sanskrit word for the same concept, and Ka is the ancient Egyptian word for it. Orgone was the name given to it by Wilhelm Reich, and Ad was the name assigned by metallurgist Karl von Reichenbach. Ether is the classical term for it, the liquid light medium that fills all of space. Digital electromagnetic pulses from our modern wireless devices can activate voltage-gated calcium channels, which are embedded within all cell membranes. Microwave damage. The background microwave radiation in our environment from wireless communication technologies is especially high in our cities. This background radiation is nearly 1,000,000 times higher than it was just 30 years ago, before the advent of cell phones, cordless phones, Wi-Fi, and wireless smart meters that are saturating the airwaves with microwave radiation. Most people have heard that the radiation from cell phones is dangerous and can cause cancer. Wi-Fi radiation from a Wi-Fi router is the same kind of radiation, but it is a lot stronger, and is emitted continuously 24/7 throughout our homes and offices. A cell phone generally only sends out its stronger radiation when it's sending or receiving a call, not just when it's on. A Wi-Fi router emits at full power constantly whenever it is on. Modern Wi-Fi home networks feature dual-band broadband routers that support both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz channels. These technologies are pulsing electromagnetic fields that can adversely affect the nervous system and the brain. These are even in school buses now, not just in the school. Cell phones are so bright and cheery and a thing of our time that we forget their darker beginnings connected to World War II and radars. Radar produces radio frequency radiation. This is when it all started, pretty much. If cell phones put out enough radio frequency radiation to cause brain tumors, imagine what other far more powerful radio frequency radiation emitters such as smart meters, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cordless devices will cause. Today's plethora of modern microwave electromagnetic signals has been shown to have a potentially adverse effect on our cells and tissues. In some cases, cordless phones are more dangerous than cell phones. The handset and the base of the phone emit pulsed microwave radiation. For places where a corded phone is not practical, a cell phone is much better than a cordless phone. Cordless phones are like having a cell tower in your home. The U.S. government will tell you the radiation from these devices is perfectly safe, but the truth is, cordless phone radiation puts you and your family at risk for developing major health problems. A cordless phone base unit as well as each of the handsets emit their full blast amount of RF radiation 24/7 whenever they're on. The only other devices that do this are things like Wi-Fi routers and baby monitors. When measuring the radiation coming off the average baby monitor, it's almost identical to that of a Wi-Fi router. And like a router, it is blasting through your home and especially your baby's room constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whenever you have it on. Bluetooth earbuds or headphones cause brain cancer and tumors. There are literally hundreds of peer-reviewed scientific studies linking radiofrequency radiation to crib death, cancer, DNA damage, and male infertility. When you're using a Bluetooth headset, you're putting it as close to your brain as you possibly can. Bluetooth headsets and earbuds use the exact same frequency of radiofrequency radiation that your microwave oven uses to cook your food. A microwave oven uses 2.45 gigahertz frequency, and so does Bluetooth. Even the Bluetooth emitted from other devices such as your cell phone and your car stereo use from 2.4 to 2.45 gigahertz microwave frequency. Fitness monitors, like Fitbits, emit electromagnetic field radiation primarily from their Bluetooth connection with your phone. And this is right against your body. People sleep with these on. Radiation from devices like a Fitbit happens in pulses. The electromagnetic field radiation from these pulses is an extremely short wavelength that travels at very high speeds and is extremely efficient at penetrating human tissue and could potentially cause biological damage. Flickering blue light is a noxious influence on the nervous system. Sound is one of the sole factors which holds existence together. Sound is the basis of form and shape. Everything in existence is the result of a frequency. We are told in Scripture that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. We are told that this is how the world began and how creation took place. The human body can be compared to a symphony orchestra. Each molecule corresponds to a particular instrument. Each bend, rotation, or stretch of a chemical bond has a certain resonant frequency and will give off certain notes if it is energized. Since molecules, water, and dissolved ions are constantly bumping into each other at body temperature, all parts are constantly jiggling and absorbing and emitting energy. The therapeutic use of sound falls into a category called energy medicine. It could also be called sound medicine. vibrational medicine, sound healing, sound therapy, frequency medicine, integrative medicine, alternative medicine, and probably other names besides. Shamans are the original sound healers, with song and chant and drum and rattle and didgeridoo, harnessing the power of sound in healing. Pure analog sounds of continuous tones or melodious music have the potential to correct the energetic imbalances that may be present in the body or the biofield of a person, leading to the repair of imbalanced DNA or RNA genetic material inside our cells. The human body is wired to be exquisitely sensitive to sound. The faculty of hearing is one of the first senses to develop in utero and the last to depart before death. Perception of sound begins in the womb, and it begins very early. At 16 weeks gestation, we become aware of vibration and life begins to filter into us. The eardrums and the skin, sensors of vibration, are the first sense organs to become active. In addition to perceiving sound through our ears, we also hear the pressure waves of sound through our skin. Our bones also conduct sound. Cymatics is the study of sound and vibration made visible, typically on the surface of a plate, diaphragm, or membrane. Direct ocular viewing of vibrations involves exciting inorganic matter such as particulate matter, pastes, both magnetic and non-magnetic, and liquids under the influence of sound. Recent research has extended the range of media to include organic matter, and the range of viewing has been extended to include the light microscope. There is an ocean of pure, vibrant consciousness inside each one of us. It is right at the source and base of mind. It is right at the source of thought, and it is also at the source of all matter. Your body seems also reassuringly solid, but modern physics has assured us that this solidity is a mirage. All physical matter, everything we have around us, is actually the result of a frequency. The structure of the matter will change. Sound is behind the manifestation of form and matter. Cymatics allows us to see into the otherwise hidden geometry in sound and the frequencies which form matter. Cymatic frequencies have an effect on texture, structure, water, and more. Humans are made of over 70% water. So using a sound table or tuning forks and things actually physically change the water and the tissues in our bodies and restructure them back to these normal sacred geometric patterns. Vibrational exchange is the language, the mechanism of our biochemistry and physiology. So it follows that giving you a therapeutic molecule would not be necessary if we could instead give you the resonance frequency of that molecule. The use of homeopathic medicine relies on the inherent frequencies of the plant, animal, or mineral world. Because these frequencies are beyond detection of instruments used in general medicine, the concept has been refused by conventional medicine. We all sense vibes coming from other people. There are also antenna-like structures on cell membranes that respond to the vibrational frequencies. They vibrate like tuning forks. The receptor antennas can also read vibrational energy fields such as light, sound, and radio frequencies. For a developing fetus, the intrauterine world is largely a world of sound. Sound travels 5 times more efficiently through water than through air, and a mother's stretched abdominal wall is an ideal membrane for transmitting sound. In many respects, it is through sound that a gestating human becomes aware of itself. Certain types of sound, the heartbeat, respiratory sounds, passage of blood through vessels, organic bodily sounds, register deeply in the human nervous system. These primordial sounds are immediately recognizable to any person, regardless of gender, culture, race, age, or social status. They are truly universal. Recordings of primordial sounds can be used therapeutically to access aspects of consciousness and memory to which an individual is typically unconscious. Every physical substance has particular frequencies at which it will become excited to a higher vibratory state. Every organ, every bone has a unique size, density, and mass, and therefore a unique resonant frequency. Each vertebra is a different size, density, and mass, and like a wine glass, can be resonated with the correct sound. This causes the vertebra to vibrate back into its correct position. Similarly, cranial bones and cerebrospinal fluid can be influenced with sound resonances. The brain itself is an organ with a unique size, density, and mass. Sound is one of the most powerful means of entraining brainwave patterns. Brainwaves will time themselves to external sound pulses if we provide those pulses at specific brainwave speeds. Various meditative states have characteristic EEG thumbprints. When two tones are fed separately into the ears through headphones or speakers, the brain detects the out-of-phase relationship between the two notes, and a perceptual integration of the two signals takes place, producing the sensation of a third beat frequency. The difference between the signals waxes and wanes as the two different input frequencies mesh in and out of phase. As a result of these constantly increasing and decreasing differences, an amplitude-modulated standing wave, the binaural beat is heard. The binaural beat is perceived as a fluctuating rhythm at the frequency of the difference between the two auditory inputs. It's like a phantom signal. By entraining brain waves with binaural beats using headphones or speakers, it's possible to float the brain in this state of hemispheric synchronization for prolonged periods. Each time we do this, it's like exercising a new brain function, which makes the brain more able to engage this function as its normal repertoire of behavior. Using sound in these ways, it's possible to make profound changes in brainwave patterns and states of consciousness observable on brainwave mapping equipment called electroencephalographs, as well as positive changes in the body measurable with blood tests, manual muscle testing, biofeedback equipment, and other sophisticated procedures. We are also able to influence the core balance and functioning of the brain and central nervous system as a whole. Sound can reset the rhythms of the body. It has shown itself to be beneficial for a wide range of symptoms: post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, pain, digestive disorders, vertigo, migraines, emotional discord, and more. It is gentle, non-invasive, simple, and efficient. Sound assists the body and mind to relax out of habitual patterns of tension, imbalance, and stress response, and in doing so facilitates self-healing. Sound is propagated through spherical wavefronts, expanding as a series of concentric bubbles from the sound source. Sound is analogous to electromagnetic waves, which also expand as spherical waves, but travel much faster at the speed of light. In water and watery solids, such as the human body, sound travels over 5 times faster in the form of phonons or sonic shear waves. As the sound strikes the body's skin surface, complex electrical and phonon interactions take place that can alter tissue dielectric properties, including altering various acupuncture meridians. The meridians have different electrical properties than the surrounding tissue. When a holographic sound field strikes the biofield of a person, the cellular memories of various tissues can be reawakened, leading potentially to a healing response. Sound will interact with the membrane regions called watery exclusion zones that can modify cellular processes through their interaction with the hydration shells surrounding cell membrane receptors. Sound transmission exists inside the body from the earliest moments of embryonic development inside the womb. These sonic symphonies and pulsations transmitted from the mother to the developing baby help shape its sense of hearing and develop sense perceptions of vibration, touch, and texture. These form the major dorsal column pathways of the spine and the growing brain. Our whole nervous system is exquisitely conditioned from our earliest development to absorb therapeutic modalities of vibration through acoustic and vibratory resonances. When sound penetrates tissues, every molecule within the region of the body being treated shares in the sound data, including integral membrane proteins and even the DNA within the cells. The environmental sound signals may act through epigenetic signaling processes yet to be defined to modulate the genome, or genetic code inside each cell nucleus, analogous to the other electromagnetic fields that can affect membrane proteins. The sound table delivers sound not only to the ears, but to the organs, spinal column, muscles, and skeletal elements as well. The entire posterior one-third of the spinal cord consists of nerve tract bundles, whose sole purpose is transmission of vibrational sense data to the brainstem, cerebellum, pons, medulla, hippocampus or limbic system, and various areas of the cerebral cortex. The sound table allows us to deliver sound directly through the body, and an entirely different aspect of the nervous system is brought into play with the possibility of a much deeper response.